has that been started, and are you doing that in-house, or are you actually hiring a consultant?
We are doing it in-house. We have started work on it, and we're going to continue working on it.
Do you have any projection for when the analysis will be available?
Adam, do we?
Well, I wanted to get that done here in the first quarter. I mean, we have something, you know, that I was fairly confident in talking with the LCD, but it was clear that we don't want to rush the process because we want to make sure that folks have a say in what goes into that, and yeah, just taking some extra time. So
Thank you.
I think on that timeline, I'd say to get it done in the next 4 months.
Just on the process here, so basically back to the sheet, getting back to the process, so you're looking at a EC work being done, a final draft, I guess, July next year, 2012, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's a draft. So basically, you're not taking action on it. Then you kind of move into non-regulatory. You got to have that program development. So basically, you want to put these two programs in juxtaposition, side by side, before you. I would assume before you move forward to a formal public review process, right?
Formal public review,
Well,
but
planning commission.
informal like this.
What?
Through informal review like
yeah,
this
like this
throughout.
will be going on,
exactly.
but then before you start a real formal, like basically, we're now taking it to the planning, you know,
Public
county
hearing.
commission and such. Okay.
Yep.
So it sounds like I'm just getting scheduling here. So you'll get through that by July. Then you kind of pause that. I mean, you can do some informal, you know, outreach, and then you have the non-regulatory program, which is catching up to it, and that's going to be done November 2012.
Well, it's sort of.
I mean, like a program plan.
It's sort of in parallel, but since we do have a reduction now and some staff
Yeah,
time
it
to
takes
go
you-
into it, yeah.
So then, so by November 2012, then you'll have these two parts,
Right.
EC and the proposed regulatory part. I mean, and you'll have the non-regulatory part, and somehow you will suture those two together. So it's about a year from now that the kind of the complete package will be together, so everybody can kind of see how it all fits together.
Yeah, and that is a very kind of overview timeline. I mean, there's other things that are going to have to obviously happen. This idea of getting additional data, making it available, and that sort of thing is going to occur as well.
Yeah, those are the
And,
things that,
yeah, and to have not only the advisory committees, but to go out to ALC, go out to various communities to give an update.
oh yeah, there's a lot of tasks that go to make those two things happen, to have the EC properly reviewed, informally, to have the non-reg program come into being, so to speak, put it side by side. All these little tasks, of which there'll be some little work plan that would actually show all these little tasks coming together. I'm just getting a sense of, so everybody here kind of gets a sense of how long, and pace this out a little bit. So,
That's
okay. Yeah. Okay.
And this kind of gets back to my earlier question, but say we go through this process, we reach that November 2012 point, this goes to the planning commission, and they reject it, what happens?
Planning Commission's role is to hold a public hearing and make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, who then holds around a public hearing. Planning Commission's recommendation might be adopt nothing, it might be adopt this form of it.
And then say the Board of County Commissioners doesn't adopt it, then what happens?
not adopted.
It's not adopted.
But that's my question. I mean, is the county going to be in violation of some law?
We would be out of compliance with our plan approval with Department of Environmental Quality. Yeah, our
Isn't that
TMD.
what happened in Lane County?
Pardon?
Isn't that what happened in Lane County?
I don't know.
That's what I'm getting, that's what happened in Lane County.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't want to talk about.
So you'd be out of compliance with what?
With our TMDL implementation plan.
Yeah, Nathan, I can actually send you the specific legal document that describes what
Right.
we're talking about. There's a specific requirement in there around reasonable assurance. So if you're a designated management agency, DEQ has made your designated management agency, you being Benton County in this case, to meet these water quality requirements, show that you're meeting your implementation plan that was adopted in 2007. You have to show that you're moving in a direction to have that completed in that timeline you set forth. That's state. I mean, each state has a different approach on implementing the TMDLs and developing the TMDLs.
Right. So if you're inside the city, for example, city of Corvallis, so if you get newsletters, basically the city is on the same process, so they're doing different things, but again, they're moving through towards compliance with the, the state requirements, and so there's a whole saga there about, things going on in the city. So again, each community is on these paths, and then the state, who's not here today, is kind of nudge things along. Because the feds then nudge the state along. That's
So in other words, we're under the auspice and guidelines set forth by the feds.
in a way of speaking, yeah, basically there's flexibility by each state. So yeah, basically the Federal Clean Water Act sets the set back in the 1970s.
And that's a bad thing to go against the feds.
Yeah, it's federal law. So then the states are, there's a whole process.
But going against federal law. A state is autonomous from federal law.
Well, so we're getting into different discussions, but
Yeah.
to make sure you're understanding that is a specific. In my research, the specific sort of linchpin is that reasonable assurance requirement. Now, as I mentioned, DEQ does have, in state statute, resulting from what DEQ has developed for the TMDLs for the Willamette Basin, which is the only ones that are current in Benton County. They do have, you can go a non-regulatory path to show reasonable assurance. Just haven't seen anyone do it as a local jurisdiction.
But that's what you're wanting to explore. That's
Right.
that's given the energy here, and the reasonable assurance. Boils down simple. If you have to, I try to boil it all down to something else. Basically, there's a lot of good stuff like Woods Creek, and stuff. All this good stuff. It's basically documenting that is going on and it's having a beneficial effect. So that's that's the hard part, is to say, how do you translate all that good work and actually measure it and pick up a signal that that's doing good. The more of a signal you have that benefit from that hard work, then the reg, that's the balance you can have with the non-reg, or the regulatory part. The more assurance you have with the non-reg, you back off from the reg. And it's getting that just in the right juxtaposition that it works. And I think that's what the county's trying to do here, is beef up that non-reg part, and that's going to be the group challenge, is that assurance. How do you get the data to show that stuff is working? And there are ways, and it's just not been done. It doesn't mean we can't do it. So,
is there any data to support the fact that the regulatory path is leading to where the state wants it to get? Is it just hoping that by regulation we're going to all get to where they want us to be, or is it just, what are the assurances that if you regulate us, it's going to work?
No, and that's a very valid public input that we got throughout the project, is how can you make sure that there's this level of assurance through regulation. And
so doesn't the DEQ have a responsibility to say, we know this works, before they impose this?
And they have a process that they go through to determine. They have some various models, and it gets rather complex and long algebraic equations. But the fact of the matter is, it's not in a nice package for.
So there's no statistical analysis to back up what they want to do.
Well, they definitely do. There's a report released every 5 years where they go and they reevaluate all of the water quality data that they have from continuous monitoring stations, or from grab samples at specific locations throughout the year. But it's, it's a document that's pretty sizable, and most folks have to, spend a significant amount of time to understand what process they went through to come up with the models, to say how much solar radiation is hitting the water and what the long-term effect that would have if there was a reduction in vegetation. But as we've always tried to bring folks back, one part of this is definitely the water quality, and a lot of people, in Benton County, and I think, the whole world now is very much concerned about water quality and having, clean water for us and the fish and everything else. But we have some local goals around just having that resource there, that riparian zone there over time as land uses change and properties change hands, that sort of thing.
I'm just concerned that you think that landowners are irresponsible.
No.
People who want to destroy their water, you
Definitely
give us
not.
credit for.
Right.
Definitely not, and that's
Why regulate?
well,
Well.
that's the philosophical debate.
Have a good look at,
What's it?
maybe some